Ah yes, nothing like waiting 4 days for 30 seconds of new gameplay, but God bless Game Informer because at least we are getting some brand new God of War Ragnarok gameplay, of course including this 30 seconds to a minute of brand new footage. We're gonna take a look at Svartaflheim, which is one of the new realms accessible in Ragnarok. Also a dwarven city, dwarven characters, a lot of other stuff that you might have missed. So let's begin. And of course, to celebrate God of War Ragnarok, I'm doing a giveaway for a free digital edition for either PS4 or PS5, whichever console you have. All you have to do is to be a subscriber of the channel and follow the links to the giveaway in the description or the pinned comment, and I will reach out to the winner at the end of the giveaway. Anyway, one of Santa Monica Studios' biggest mantras when it comes to developing Ragnarok is that it's going to be bigger, better, and apparently more vertical than ever before. According to the game's director, Eric Williams, all of the 9 realms will be explorable in God of War Ragnarok, and even the existing ones will feel new again and much bigger. What we do know about the existing realms is, at very least for the starting zone that we had in God of War 2018 with the Frostbitten Forest, well, it remains similar, but now the Fimbulwinter extends way beyond that starting region all the way up to the Lake of the Nine, which we saw in the cinematic trailer. So it's now frozen solid, and here is where the sled with the 2 wolves comes into play as both a new means of transportation, but also introducing 2 new characters, the wolves themselves called Specky and Svanna. Obviously, the main highlight here is going to be the new realm, Svartalfheim, one of the 3 new that we're gonna finally get access in Ragnarok. This is basically the land of the dwarves, and we can see all of that throughout this video with all of the dwarven structures, the mining pits, all of these contraptions, and all of the other more technologically advanced stuff that we didn't see before, all the way up to a fully fledged city. The name of the city is, well, this one on the screen that I can't even pronounce, but we can see a glimpse of it as Kratos and Atreus are making their way in this downstream, and you can see various structures, houses, and dwarven buildings on each side of the river. And for the first time ever, citizens as well, some of which appear in the backdrop running away in fear when seeing Kratos for the first time, but apparently we will be able to interact with them in one way or another. Now, as I've said, the game will be huge and more evolved than ever before, including those verticality pieces I was talking about. More important, we have new ways of opening up areas ahead and navigating the environment. In this case, we can see 2 new ones. One of them are some of these geysers that it seems we can use the Leviathan Axe on to freeze so that we can access the path ahead. Another one are some of these fiery pots that we can disable or dismantle with the Blades of Chaos. Again, either opening up an area ahead, destroying something, or maybe revealing a geyser that again we need to freeze. It seems that Atreus himself has also acquired new, well, skills to deal with some of the out of bounds and out of reach challenges that we might not get access to with Kratos. All in all, looks really exciting, honestly. Like, this area right here is just impressive on its scale, and I can only imagine how the game will look like when all of the other 9 realms also get a big update as well. In some of the previous gameplay footage, we also saw Atreus using his brand new sonic arrows, pretty much useful at clearing out some of these obstacles and opening up paths ahead, like for example with the big pillar in the background seems to have a crystal in the middle that when shot by Atreus causes it to explode, taking down the enemy that was resting on it, as well as opening up that area ahead that we saw Kratos jumping in a little bit later. So this seems to be on top of the electric and the frozen ones that he already had in 2018. Also, since we're on the subject of traversing the environment, maybe at the end of the day Kratos isn't getting a dedicated jump button, but rather smoother transitions between jumping and attack animations. For example, in this scene right here, it could just be that there's a better transition or maybe a tie-in animation between the jumping over the gap, tying in directly with the attack, very similar to what Insomniac Games actually did with Marvel Spider-Man also in 2018. In 2018, God of War, there wasn't actually any tie-in animation, so following a jump over a ledge, you would actually have to wait for that animation to end before actually starting to perform an attack. In terms of some of the brand new weapons, let's discuss a few of these because I've noticed at least a new upgrade skill for the Blades of Chaos, one for the Elemental Overcharge that seems to further have an upgrade path in Ragnarok compared to the 2018 version. So previously you would be able to charge up a spin, which would cause the blades to catch fire, that you can then follow up with a large cross slash being unleashed, and that's where the whole attack ended. But in Ragnarok there is an added effect that seems to be this explosion that travels in an area pretty far ahead, dealing additional damage and also staggering enemies in its paths. So it could indicate that there's new skills to unlock that build upon the existing ones, and similarly to how Forbidden West build upon Zero Dawn, we could have the previous 2018 ones unlocked by default at the start of Ragnarok and then just build upon them with completely new ones in the 2022 release. But let's also talk about some of the new shields. Of course, we did talk about this, but now we finally have full footage. So the Stone Wall, which is one of the new shields added, functions most similar to the current version in God of War 2018. You hold down the L1 button, and as long as you keep it pressed, Kratos holds that shields and blocks some of the incoming damage. In Ragnarok, enemy attacks will also recharge the meter that we can see onto the side of the weapon right here in the bottom UI. Once the bar is filled, if we tap R1 while holding the shield up, this will let us unleash a shockwave AoE that also depletes that entire bar and unleashes the entire force of damage in a pretty nice area. For the Dauntless shield, this works pretty much like a quick parry. This one works best for immediate counter attacks and enemy stagger. Enemies get immediately immobilized or staggered momentarily, and their stagger bar also fills up like pretty much all the way up. Noteworthy that this shield does not have a rune on it, so it's likely that unlike the 2018 version, shields will also have their own separate runes that we can find and then apply for extra skills and extra new effects. What I'm most excited for are going to be the new weapon signature moves, which of course we do know didn't exist in 2018, and the triangle button was reserved to recalling the Leviathan Axe. Now in Ragnarok, these are going to imbue your weapon with either Frost Awakening or Whiplash, depending if you have the Leviathan or if you have the Blades of Chaos. But we saw Kratos imbuing his axe in full action with ice damage, which immediately makes the effect appear on the weapon and also makes it glow. The following attack after that was activated also causes an ice explosion onto the enemy, again dealing that extra damage, and we also saw a frost debuff being applied over the enemy's HP. It also seems that it has a longer duration than just one single attack, because the subsequent second one also benefited from that Frost Awakening, and it also caused an ice explosion to happen around the target. We haven't seen the Blades of Chaos equivalent yet, but I would assume that it's going to work similarly, except that its effect is going to be incinerating the enemies rather than freezing them. Now, speaking of enemies, yeah, they can be used as environmental props or ways to attack other foes nearby. For example, Kratos is doing a charge freezing throw on this one, which if thrown onto the lower level causes again an ice damage eruption, and yeah, pretty much trapping and freezing anybody around it. Also notice how the enemies too can use the environment more dynamically in Ragnarok, like these grim enemies jumping on the walls and surrounding structures, and even landing attacks from them, which sounds really nice. Another thing to notice here is in terms of the UI, the triangle recall indicator is no longer situated on top of the weapon UI, but rather inside of it to better indicate that you can recall your weapon. Also notice the arrow indicators on Kratos. That makes it easier to spot enemies behind you, which were a pretty big problem in 2018. In 2018, some of the attacks coming from behind were especially annoying, while in Ragnarok, some of those issues are fixed, since now all of that is indicated, including the fact that the arrows turn in a more urgent red when an enemy is about to land an attack on you. Anyway, this is pretty much it with all of the brand new gameplay. Totally let me know down below if there's any other details that I missed. In the meantime, if you want to stay up to date with everything God of War related, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.